Okay, so hey guys, welcome to another awesome webinar from AdmitKard. Very good evening to everyone who's joined us today. First of all, thank you all of you for giving such a wonderful response over our last webinars, and again to be back today. All of you guys who are on the way to their study abroad dream, congratulations on making that decision, and I'm glad you're here today to take the next step. So all of you who've joined us, put a hi or hello along the in the chat side chat section that is alongside, and ping us there to let us know that you've joined. So I can see a few pings. Hi Adnan, hi Siva, we have Tarun, we have Nalini. Good evening to everyone. Anushri, yes, the broadcast has started. Hello Jayesh, Vaishnavi. Hi guys, Kajal. Thank you guys for being here today. So just ping hi to let us know that you've joined, and we'll begin in a few seconds. Hi Anshika. Great. Hi Gavaskar. Hey Dolly Seni. Hi guys. Okay. So I think we'll move forward. You guys can keep pinging on hello. So also guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, we have a link in the description to join us live here and clarify all your doubts. You can just click on that link and join us live here. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about something that is really, really crucial to your study abroad application, and that is your student essay or your SOP. My name is Pragya. I lead the mentorship vertical at AdmitKard, and today we have a very, very special panel of mentors to help you out. So I'm gonna introduce them to you one by one. So first of all, we have Shrishti from University of Warwick. So Shrishti, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. This is Srishti. I completed my master's from University of Warwick, UK, and it was a one-year program in behavioral and economic science. My academic background has been mainly in economics, and currently I'm working as a research associate at a firm called Invecologic in Delhi, doing research work on economic projects with them.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Srishti. So next, Akriti. So Akriti, can you just introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Akriti. I'm currently doing my MBA at the University of Hong Kong with an exchange at London Business School. The program is 1 year. It started off with a 1-month immersion program in Beijing, China, followed by 2/3 of the program in Hong Kong and a third of it in London Business School. The MBA program has given me a lot of opportunities, and currently I'm doing an internship based out of Hong Kong as well. So welcome you all.
Thank you, Akriti. Moving on to Shivani. Hi, Shivani. How are you? Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Shivani Gaikwad. I'm pursuing Masters in Pharmaceutical Sciences from Northeastern University, Boston. It's a 2-year course, and I was joining last year, so I have 1 more year to go. Hello, everyone.
Perfect. So next we have Akash. So Akash, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Akash, and currently I'm doing my 2-year master program in industrial engineering in University of Toronto, Canada. My background is in mechanical, and here I'm pursuing my master's in industrial. So any doubt, just feel free to ping us. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Moving on to Aditya. Aditya, can you have an introduction from your side?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone listening to me from different parts of the world. And so I'm Aditya, and I mean, it's been really exciting and interesting to know about all the other student mentors here in the panel. And whenever I'm asked to introduce myself, I feel how difficult it is to tell my 20-year journey in a short span of 1 to 2 minutes. So, I mean, when I reflect back, maybe one or two key topics reflect about myself, which is adaptability to change and innovation. So so I really like different sorts of changes, and which is always a key highlight about myself. And so I'm currently studying computer systems engineering at the University of Sheffield, and it's a bachelor's program of 4 years. And At the moment, I'm on my year in industry with a smart video notes AI startup called Intelligence by Human Learning in London. So my course is basically an integration of AI, machine learning, and robotics, which about which I've been passionate right from my childhood. So yeah, I mean that's where that's where I'm currently landed in and working at. So thanks for joining in, guys, and looking forward to interacting with you in a wonderful session. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Aditya. So we have a lot of students. Okay, we have Arnav, Adnan, Mohit. Aman is planning for London, so that matches. You'll get a lot of things to know. Vikas, Jyoti, Aditya, Dilip. Hi, guys. So I think we covered everything that you want to know about SOPs and your state or as call your statement of purpose soon. But before that, I think let us move forward to know what AdmitKard is. So first of all, about AdmitKard. AdmitKard is an edtech platform that brings access to top advice from top mentors, experts to the comfort of your homes, hostel, or wherever you are in the world. So with AdmitKard, let the AI handhold you to make your search for the perfect university very, very easy. AdmitKard is a venture capital funded edtech startup. It was founded in 2016 by IIT IIM alumni with an aim to mentor students in their college applications. Searching for your dream university and taking the next leap towards deciding which university go for can be a real hassle. But with AdmitKard, it's more. We are a platform of student mentors. We are a platform for the students and by the students. So let me explain what that means. We have a lot of student mentors who are actually students studying abroad in your target universities or the courses right now. What makes AdmitKard different is the trueness of information. You will be assisted by a mentor at all steps, somebody who's already studying in your dream schools. You can see, we have 500 plus mentors already, and those mentors have been handpicked across different universities and courses. We have a lot of students that we have helped out. At the same time, our students make us proud. They've been to some top universities around the globe and many more to come. Moving forward, coming on to the point, so the agenda for today is quite serious. A lot of students are moving towards writing their own SOP or the essay, and I cannot stress enough on how critical that is. So today we are going to discuss about the perfect essay for your application. We have a list of most important questions, and we'll discuss them one by one. So let us begin. So the first question, how critical is SOP for an admission process? So starting with Srishti.
Right. If I would say in a lot of universities, I think SOP is probably the main document that is used to assess the candidature of students. And particularly in universities where they do not ask for GRE scores, your SOP is the main document by which they judge, by which they will judge your candidature. So, by that, in that aspect, SOP is very, very important, and it is a reflection of your because essentially universities who are not conducting let's say interviews, or they are not asking for a GRE score. It is a reflection of your strengths. It is a reflection of your of how good a fit you are for the program that you are applying to at the university. So
Right.
I would say that invest as much time, as much effort into framing a good SOP, because that will definitely take you a long way.
Perfect. So moving on to Akriti, what do you think? How important SOP would be in any application, especially for your country?
I think the SOP is definitely an extremely important part. So, talking about the University of Hong Kong, I think that was one of the key things that is used to differentiate the applicants. So, the first thing that they look at probably is GMAT score, but I've seen that there's a larger emphasis on the statement of purpose based on which they do the shortlisting for the interviews, and then the interview, I think, becomes the most important in the whole process. So I also think this is a great way to explain anything that you feel is lacking in your profile, and how you're a truly good fit with the school, and why you want to be there, and what you plan to do with that degree. So I think those elements are very important in the SOP, and the universities consider this as a prime factor in making their decisions.
Right. Perfect. So moving on to Shivani, how much do you think SOP is important for your applications in the US?
SOP is extremely vital for the application process, because that is, I consider that is this one document you wherein you can present yourself to the university about your achievements, about everything in, in a very concise manner. So yes, no doubt, wherein considering all the GRE is mandatory for the United States, so as important as GRE for the universities, the same applies for the SOP as well.
Perfect. So what about Canada? So can we have an insight from Akash?
Oh yeah, I see a lot of questions regarding SOP in Canada, and especially from Adnan, whether every university asks for SOP in Canada. Yes, every university asks for SOP in Canada, because in Canada you don't have specific weightage on GRE score. So trust me, every university goes through your SOP. I kind of have worked with the admissions team as a part time, so they literally go through your SOP. They take notes about your academics, your research interest, and your achievements, and that's how they try to scrutinize your application. So it becomes very, very, very critical, especially when there are thousands of applications coming in. It plays an important role in moving you forward to the next phase. Yeah, so it's really important as terms in terms of application in Canada.
Mhm. Perfect. So moving on to Aditya, what do you think about UK?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot has already been said on this topic already. So just to add on my thought process, so a statement of purpose, I mean, as per my thought, suggests, it basically focuses on your life story. That's your particular story. Primarily, what do you want to do in life, and why do you want to do? And what do you, and do you think if you'll be a good fit for that specific course or a position where you're applying to? I feel your HOP says a lot of things about you silently that a strong profile might never be able to speak about, like your attitude, your ambition, clarity of thought, and your personality. This takes me back in 2018 when I was writing my statement of purpose to apply to various universities in the world. I mean, I had Hong Kong on my list, UK, US, Canada, uh, and different parts of the world. So one thing which was clear and which was static throughout all of the statement of purposes in different countries was that I had a clarity in my mind about choosing AI and robotics as a career path. And the reason why I landed up here in the UK at the University of Sheffield, studying AI, robotics, and computer systems engineering, was because it had the number one automation controls department in the Europe. So the why and what was really clear in my mind. I think that is exactly what should reflect in your SOP, and that is the reason why I feel that SOP is really, really critical in terms of telling your story in terms of admission.
Thank you so much, Aditya. So before actually I move on to the next question, I will take up some questions from here. So we have Aniket who's asking, can SOP help to make over the low or average GPA for masters? So anybody could take that up.
Actually, Aniket, I'm so sorry, you can go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. That's all right.
Yes, if you are speaking about low or average GPA, that SOP is the perfect platform wherein you address your, you have to explain it to them ki why it was such, I mean, what were the problems or what are the technical issues and how did you overcome the, the low GPA profile, which, in either your GRE nor your IELTS, those are not the platforms to describe your problems right up there. So SOP does provide you with that, like, in your statement of purpose, in your personal essay, you can mention these were the, I had this low GPA and the background as to why, which subject, but then, how did you overcome it? So that is one of the that is very critical.
Can I add on to it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, very interesting question and a very relevant question, Aniket. Unlike in earlier times where grades were the most important aspect in order to measure someone's intellect, I feel things have changed somewhere or the other now. I mean, for me, and I'm sure a lot of people would be able to connect that personality and self-confidence are probably the two most important aspects a university considers during an application process. So as far as low grades are concerned, I mean, if you have a genuine reason and you feel this doesn't really justify your intellect, I'd advise you to go ahead and write a line stating your reason to clarify yourself. But I mean, a side note with that, you should always be honest about yourself and not come up with any false reasons to clarify your grades. I mean, talking about myself, I took science back in class 12 just because of my love for computer science and maths. It wasn't because of my love towards physics and chemistry, telling you very frankly. I've never been interested in chemistry as a subject, which led to my low scores in that module in my board exams. So instead of worrying about it and considering it as a major setback, I I I took it as a positive way. I thought that I aced the subject where my heart lied, which was computer science. So it's perfectly fine if I didn't perform well in one exam. I mean, it's fine. So one thing I've learned is that no one can be perfect. No one can be perfect in each and every field, and maybe your heart lies in music, and that's the reason of your low scores. Or maybe you would be a swimming champion in your school or university, and that's the reason why you've got a low score. So that's absolutely fine. I mean, the sop is a great platform to actually showcase your strengths rather than worrying over your weaknesses, I would say.
So I hope that answers the question very, very well, Aniket. Okay, so we have another question from Pranav, but your question is something that we'll address in the further questions. So you can stay tuned. Also, people watching us on YouTube, again, you have a link in the description to join us live here. For everyone, we would cover most of the questions that you have in your mind, and also we'll have an exclusive Q&A towards the end of this webinar. So stay tuned. I'm going to move on to the next question that we have. So, what is the difference between statement of purpose and a personal statement? So, again, starting with Srishti.
Right. I'll try to answer this in my understanding. So for my application, I had prepared a statement of purpose mainly, and a statement of purpose essentially is highlights how good a fit you are for the program that you're applying to, and consequently it should cover things like what's your academic background, what have been your key achievements, what are your key strengths, what is your motivation to apply for this program. And versus a personal statement is, I guess, it focuses more on yourself, on what's your story so far, how what have been your personal motivations, what have been your personal limitations in your journey so far. I'm again not very sure about personal statements, so I will stick to statement of purpose. So yeah, if anybody else could take up, could shed some light on personal statement, that would be great. So because
Yeah.
I only had to submit a statement of purpose for my application.
Okay. So, Akriti, moving on to you. Anything that you have to add?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it in 2 lines that basically a statement of purpose is what you want to do, and a personal statement is who you are. So, just to exemplify that, what you want to do, as an example, you could just say about why do you want to actually go to that university? What are your plans for your future? What are your career goals? How is this degree going to actually help you reach those career goals? Whereas a personal statement is going to talk about how your past actually runs through and how you've come to where you are today. So it's all about your journey. That's about it.
Okay. Moving on to Shivani.
Yeah, apparently Akriti has, justified it completely. But yes, statement of purpose is more of an formal stuff, and a personal statement is more informal if you go on the broader perspective. But to narrow it down, statement of purpose is apparently why you're choosing that course, why that university, why that city, why that country. So it's all based on that. It's about the future aspect, whereas personal statement is more of the past. Why did you take that course in the past? Like, why did you take it up in bachelor's, or why do you want to do it in the future? So it's more of that.
Okay. Akash, moving on to you.
So in terms of Canada, I would say for most of the generalized program, which is like masters or bachelors, people usually write the statement of purpose, but which is a very elaborate way of explaining why you really want to do this program, what has happened in your past which motivated you to do this program, how is this going to help you in future, how this inclines with your goals. But when you want to work under a specific professor, for example doing a research based masters or doing a PhD, that's the time when you go for a personal statement where you say, why I specifically want to work under you, or, how my past inclines, what my research area is, and why it, how it's going to benefit me working on the same research area as you are working. So that's how when you, go to personal statement, when you want to apply for PhD or work under specifically some professors. Yeah, other than that, you just go for a statement of purpose. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aditya, moving on to you.
Yeah, so I mean, all of you have summed it up, really well, on point, and specifically, how simply Akriti explained the difference between statement of purpose and a personal statement. That even clarified my thoughts as well. So thanks for that. Just to just to throw some more light on that. Again, I mean, I was since I mentioned before that I applied to universities in different parts of the world. So for UK, I was expected to write a personal statement that was more focused about my own life story, and and basically it had to highlight my personal motivations for applying to the program and any major accomplishments or challenges I've faced along this way. So that was basically so that's and I mean, as much as I understand, personal statement, as the name suggests, is very personal to you. It's about who you are, and a statement of purpose, again, I mean, as the name suggests, is about a purpose. It's about what do you want to do. It's about how would applying to this specific university or a course would help you in your future growth in terms of career. So yeah, I mean, and all in all, if you see, both the statements essentially serve the same overachieving purpose to make the admissions committee think that you're a good fit and you'll be successful for this program where you're applying to.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my point of view.
Okay, so we have one question from somebody named A. The difference between letter of motivation and statement of purpose. So if you can, guys, just in a quick gist, explain what is letter of motivation. Anyone?
To my surprise, I'm hearing the phrase letter of motivation for the very first time. The Yeah, I mean, I am, as much as I understand from the phrase. I mean, again, I'm not too sure about it. I think that a letter of motivation and the statement of purpose pretty much go along hand in hand and solve the same purpose. I'm not really sure about the difference. I think Akriti wanted to say something about that.
No, I was saying that in my understanding, it's the exact same thing. What statement of purpose is essentially why you applying here, and letter of motivation is what is your motivation. It's like very simply put, what is your motivation to actually apply to this university? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just worded differently, but it's essentially
Hmm,
the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
Right. Okay. So moving forward, I think Adnan is asking about how to prepare a strong SOP. So Adnan, we are going to cover that shortly. But move on to the next question here. Okay. What do I need to write in my SOP? What is the format and what are the different sections or the word limits accordingly, right? So starting with Srishti again.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. I to begin with, I would suggest that while writing an SOP, there would be two things to keep in mind. One would be to be very specific. Try and avoid being very generic in terms of whatever statements you're making. Try and be very specific and talk about personal experiences as much as possible. And secondly, when you're putting down your essay, try and make it more engaging. Try and write it in a story format. Try and build a story around the narration that would be that would make the flow of your SOP more interesting. And then moving on to what would be the particular sections or particular things to cover. So your academic background and your academic achievements, of course, is important. So highlight all your what or highlight your key achievements that are relevant to the course you're applying to. Highlight any distinguishing factor. For example, if you've taken part in any extracurricular activities or any fest related to your subject, or given any exams or anything that distinguishes you from the rest of the candidates and shows your keen interest in the subject. So highlight all your key achievements, and that need not only be in terms of grades. It could be anything, in your through your college, through the course of your college. Then highlight your motivation. What's your motivation in applying for the program? Like I said earlier, this document is a way for the committee to assess how good a fit you are for the
Mhm.
program. So highlight what is your motivation behind why you want to apply for that program. What in particular about the course interests you. What are
Mhm.
the areas you would like to pursue after you complete the program? How would you like to contribute to the field? How would you like to use your skill set in your professional journey, the skill set that you'll acquire from the program?
Right.
Then also they also lay a lot of emphasis on proper grammar, proper language. So it will be great if you can have your SOP cross-checked and vetted, after you've written by 2 3 people, just to be sure that it comes across as perfect as possible.
Hmm.
Uh, and what else? Yeah, I think that would be it from my end. I guess those are the areas mainly that
Yeah.
one should focus on, and I'm sure rest we'll cover a lot more with the rest of the things. Yeah.
Perfect. So moving on to Akriti, you can take up this same
Mhm.
question.
Okay, great. So, for this question and the other questions, I'm going to basically speak from the perspective of not only Hong Kong, but also London, Australia, and Singapore, because I think I just realized we have a much wider audience of people applying to different
Mhm.
places. So, in my experience, because I got into the number one, number two university for business in each of these countries, I had the offers, and then for different reasons, I picked what I picked. So, with that said, what there are two main formats of the SOP that I have seen. One format is like an essay. You would have like a 500 to 1,000 word essay depending on the university. The second format is a question and answer format. So universities like SMU, INSEAD, they follow this question answer format, and which would essentially ask you targeted questions like what is one of the, how did you learn from failure, what has been one of the successes that you've had, things like that. So those are mainly the two formats, that's essay and questions. What do you need to write in the SOP? So I'm talking about first the essay format. One way to put this, what you want to write in the SOP is why you want to join the university. So you need to tell them what is your, very briefly initially, what is your past, what is your present, and speak about what is your motivation to really join this university. You can put in things like, I saw this professor who is teaching this particular subject, and they have done this research on this particular area. And I find this interesting because I have been researching on this area as well. These are some of the projects that I've done in this area. This is some of the internships that I've done in this area. So that is an example of, so it's always connecting the dots of how your past, whatever you've done, relates to your future. And the second one would be the questions. In the questions, I would say try to weave a story about how it relates to that specific question. So just make it like a story and make it relate to that question, which highlights a particular strength of yours. And last one is, what are the different sections and word limits? Again, this will vary from university to university, so you can have a look at that, but use this kind of a flow to be able to answer the questions in the SOP.
Perfect. So moving on to you, Shivani.
Yeah. So basically, what do anyone needs to write in the SOP? It's again like what I was told and what I have followed across all the universities that I've applied is I have followed a basic format wherein I go from the past as to why did I take up first? Why did I take up science? Why did I take up pharmacy? And then I go on to tell about about all my courses, all the academia part, and then I shift on to my research work, my internship. And then it's like, after all of this, there is a particular section wherein you specify why do I apply to this particular university. So when you're saying that, you also say, at some point of time, you also say, why are you applying to that particular city? And because it's like I had applied to Boston. So Boston is more of biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. So that was the key point I had to mention in my SOP. So, and of course, why the country as well, because of the US FDA and all other reasons. But yes, so that is how I did go about it. And also, if it's in case if you are having a research or any article published, so do check up with the university, like the university applying, go through the professor listings, go through their research, and try, I would like to do my thesis under this professor because our interests match. That is how you would proceed. And also, of course, in the final para, you would like to task a greater future role as to what you want to become, maybe in the near 10 years or something. But yes, you would because for me, I was supposed to mention I wanted to become a research scientist because that is what my long-term goal would be. And again, about the word limit, depends from university to university, but majority of the universities do accept somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500, and they would recommend, not exceeding the word limit. That is the criteria, that is the key, to not exceed the word limit.
Perfect. So moving on to writing an SOP for Canada. Akash?
Yeah. So pretty much as the previous mentor said, SOP has two formats, like one is the essay and one is the questionnaire. But in terms of Canada, 90% of the university, they prefer doing it in the essay format. So usually talking about the word limit, I would go that way. It's around 1,200 to 1,500. Maximum, that's the maximum case. You shouldn't cross more than 2 pages, so people get bored reading that. And talking about what you exactly need to write, as I mentioned before, because I kind of have worked with them, they really grade your SOP looking into what have you done in your academics and what have you done apart from your academics, and whether that aligns with what course you're applying for. You might be having your background or bachelor's in some other department and you want to apply for some other course, but have you taken any initiative to learn about that course, or have you done any research work or certification, or even taken part in any competitions to apply, to just gain some experience to whatever you're applying for? So as others said, your passion, your motivation, or why you really need to apply, that's really important. And apart from this, what I said, like whether have you taken any interest or initiatives when you especially wanted to make a career transition from one having one background to other background. So that's something you need to highlight apart from what other mentors said, I feel. And talking about just sections, I would say start with conveying the story of what motivated you and how you became passionate. Then go with how pursuing this course in this specific university and in this specific country will help you or will picture you in future. So that flow will really help you, and definitely do add to. You should definitely add what steps you have taken apart from academics as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Moving on to Aditya.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's exactly what my thought process is as well. I would say I mean the format should resonate with your life story. Basically, to break it down to 5 points. The first point is basically introduce your academic field of interest. What was your inspiration behind that academic field of interest? So I mean, talking about myself, my inspiration was I was inspired to take computer science, and I was inspired to take computing because of my interest towards gadgets, which sparked at an age of 11 when I got my very first iPod Touch. So I mean that was the first touch device I got back then, and I was really excited with it. I used to play around with different apps, and and one thing which really excited me was that how Steve Jobs made a multi-billion-dollar business just out of music. So yeah, I mean that was pretty much my inspiration towards revolutionizing the field of technology, and that was when I got inspired. So you got to have that inspiration. The number two says academics, extracurricular, and basically your personal experience. So I mean, yeah, like academics is very good because because I mean in the current world, I would say a lot of people are doing really well in terms of academics. It is the extracurriculars, and it is all the other things which actually matters. Why this course? How will this course contribute in my future career prospects? That is the question which you need to ask yourself. And why this specific university? Before writing a statement of purpose. And the fifth point is basically summarizing your story and purpose in one or two lines with I would say a quote is definitely a quote or a saying by a famous personality which you think is a relevant fit as part of your journey. That's a good way to end. Again, I mean, to agree to what Akash said, in this fast-paced world, hardly anyone has time to read very long essays or statement of purposes. I'd recommend somewhere around 1 to 2 pages is absolutely perfect to convey your story to anyone. Universities and companies appreciate a short, crisp, and a compelling story about yourself. Just try to make it simple rather than using flashy words taking out of your grammar. And yeah, I mean that's basically my point of view in terms of how to write a statement of purpose, the format, and the word limit.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll take up a question here from Virendra, who is asking, should we focus on projects or academics? So anybody can take that up.
I guess I would say, sorry. Yeah.
Akriti, you're not audible.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
check if
Go
you
ahead.
can-
Please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think probably both would be important. If I mean, highlight both your any projects as well as your academic merit achievements. Both are equally important. I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree to that for sure. I think what the idea why we're saying that both are important is because it shows that you're a balanced person, that you're not just running after one thing, you're not only about books and academics, but you have like a lot of practical experience outside of that, and at the same time you have some academic knowledge to be able to relate to the projects that you work in. So for example, when I was doing my undergrad and also through masters, I always did an internship while I was studying. So I kept doing part-time internships almost through the year. And that really helped me in my academics as well, because it helped me to actually put into practice in the project what I learned in the class. Otherwise, it's just, I find it a waste to be learning in class. So I think that kind of connect, if you're able to make, then the admissions council as well would appreciate it.
Yes, I would like to add on to this. Like, how did I break out? Like, of course, both are important, academics as well as, you have a project going on side by side. So it was a 4-year bachelor degree. So I did take up 2 years. 2 years was mere academics. And then wherein, I got to know, okay, in pharmacy also there are many streams. This is the stream I would like to, excel in. I want to do my master's in. So accordingly, I picked up research projects in my 3rd and 4th year. So, that is how, if anybody who's confused, like we do not know what to do research on, and go about like this, like first 2 years focus on academics. Even the 3rd, 4th year academics are equally important, but along with that, you will get an insight to what are the research topics, or what are the other projects or internships you would like to excel or you would like to go about.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question. How can one polish their SOP? What is the checklist for a perfect SOP? So again, I think we'll change the pattern that we're going through, so we can start with Aditya.
Okay, fine. So, this takes me back to 2018 when I was writing my statement of purpose for the very first time for university applications. One major lesson I learned back then was to look at my statement of purpose from a critical point of view in order to polish. Each time I used to read it again, I used to find some error or some sort of scope of improvement. After spending nearly 2 years here in the UK, I've learned how important it is to think from a cultural point of view while speaking or writing your statement of purpose. In my scenario, I was lucky that I had my uncle who had graduated from UK and who settled in UK. So I reached out to him while writing my statement of purpose, who helped me fill those minor gaps which actually made the difference. Considering one example, while living here in the UK, we use the word prepone very often in India as an antonym of postpone. However, in the UK, this is not really considered to be a legitimate word. People rather tend to say ahead of time or some other terminology. So these small words or these small phrases, when you use in your statement of purpose, that actually, according to me, that actually makes a difference. In terms of checklist for a perfect statement of purpose, I would say, originality is very important. It has to be your own story in an honest yet unique manner. You need to be well researched about your course, like what course are you applying for and why that specific university. You need to create an impact in terms of the admission committee's minds. They should remember you they should remember you by one or two things after they read your statement of purpose. That what exactly makes your application stand out? What are the extracurriculars? Are you interested in some social awareness or not? Proofreading is really important. Your same sort of content which you've been writing, taking other people's point of view, taking it from your close friends who know you very well, professors in terms of refining the language, it always helps. Future career prospects. How will I benefit from this specific role or this specific university in my future growth? So I would say these 4 or 5 points are really, really relevant in order for a perfect statement of purpose and to create a spot on impact on everyone. And I'm looking forward to hear to other people's views on it.
Perfect. So moving on to Akash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So adding on to what Aditya said, I'll start off with the checklist of a perfect SOP. Like we spoke a lot about what are the different sections you have, like who are you, what motivated you, and all, and why this specific university. So I would recommend to ask these questions to yourself and reflect and start typing it out first so that you come up with a more generalized, a very long statement of purpose. Then go ahead and make some changes and tailor it to your course or your specific university. Because when I was applying for 5 to 6 universities. So there was one major problem which I think everyone would face is tailoring your SOP to that specific course and to that specific university or even to that specific country. So I think the best strategy or the best way to polish your SOP would be to reflect on the questions which you have, go on writing a long SOP, then shorten it down. How long? If you say, it depends on definitely the university you're applying to, and I would definitely say that get your feedback. Do a lot of proofreading, get your feedback, work on that, because that's how I was able to improve on my SOP. Yes, so that would be the way to polish your SOP.
Okay. Moving on to Shivani.
Yeah, so I would like to add on to this. Like, I did start my application process well in advance. So what I would recommend to all the students out there is take good, 2 months at least, to draft your SOP, like proper draft your SOP, because the first time wherein you have to just go on and on, like what you want to write and about, that is a very primitive rough draft. And then of course, it's like when over a period of 1 month, when I kept on reading, adding things, I'm like, oh no, these lines, this paragraph is not really important. It's fine if I just omit this. Oh no, I can add this. So over a period of around a course of 2-3 months, you will exactly know what you want to put in the SOP. So I would recommend start well in advance, and always have it proofread by your professors, by the counseling team. Try rereading it yourself. And yes, I mean, really, if you have to do your masters or your bachelors in this one particular field, you would have professors in your university who apparently done their masters in that field. Go to them, like make them read your SOP. They will they will enlighten you. You can add this, you can delete this. So yeah, that will help a lot.
Perfect. Akriti, the same question for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the points are covered, but if I just had to add onto how one can polish their SOP, I think taking feedback from past students as well as from people who are close to you, just to understand and tell them what kind of feedback that you want, not just like, yeah, it sounds good and everything, but does it convey the message that you're trying to convey? How easy it is to read? Is it interesting to read and things like that? I think that would be one thing. And very importantly, I think it's important to have a good grammar check. So we may be really good at grammar, but we might just do like a double print. Like I might just say, I am looking for studying. So this won't come up, this may or may not come up sometimes in the autocorrect. It's always good to have someone take a second look to understand where these grammatical errors are and whether the statements are coherent.
Right. The same question for you, Srishti.
Yeah, so pretty much agree with what everyone said. And just to add on, I mean, if I have to summarize in the form of a checklist, so from the top of my head, some key sections that I would say are important would be like we already spoke about, what's your motivation to apply for the program? Then highlighting your key achievements. Then how do you intend to contribute to this area, to the area of study? How do you intend to use the skill set acquired in your professional life or going further? Then your key strengths areas in terms of how well do they align with the demands of the course, and yeah, I mean, how basically how well do your strengths, your interests align with the demands of the course. So I think these areas are primarily what you should focus on. And the rest, of course, each SOP is different, so you could customize in whatever way. But I would say these areas are really, really important for highlighting.
Perfect. So I'll move on to the next question. But before that, again, everyone watching this on YouTube, you have link in the description. Join us live here. Also, for everyone who's right here, you have a link on the top for Mentor Connect. So other than even this webinar, you can connect with the mentors that we have via personal sessions, chat, etc., and get all the guidance. So even after this webinar, you can click on this link, fill out that form, and we'll get you connected with the relevant mentor in a one-to-one session. Ansh, that's okay if you're late. We have a lot to still cover right now, so I'll move on to the next question. Okay, what are the 3 best strategies on how to write a powerful and a convincing SOP? So, Srishti, starting with you.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, one would be that try and be as specific as you can. Don't be generic. Highlight personal experiences. Highlight your strength areas, your interests, and how you distinguish yourself. So try and focus on personal attributes and be very specific in terms of what about the course interests you. Second would be do your research well. Research as much as you can about the university, about the course, about the professors. What are the research areas that the professors focus on? What is the main skill set that the course will be imparting? So you come across as well versed, so that you can let them know that you know that what you're getting into. So that would be the second point. And third would be to, like everyone else mentioned in the last question, try and get different opinions on your SOP, because sometimes we tend to miss out on a lot of things, because it's also a lengthy, when we're documenting it, we tend to miss out on some aspects. So try and get different opinions, maybe from your professors, your friends, your relatives, anybody. Yeah, so I think those would be the 3 strategies that I would like to highlight.
Perfect. Moving on to Akriti, again, the 3 best strategies that you might have used in your SOP.
So if I were to say 3 things which you could easily remember and I think would really help, is that one, know yourself. The better you know yourself, the better you're able to understand yourself, the more authentic and genuinely you're able to tell your story. The second thing is about read and revise. It's not like you sit one night and you have the best SOP. That's your first draft, which is great, but leave it and then come back to it after a couple of days and then read it again. And then you'd find something new to add, something that you found out, some research that you've done. So have a couple of drafts. It's a continuous process. So give it time and don't just cram it all in the end. Take your time and do it. It's almost like a journey of exploration, getting to know yourself and writing about it. So enjoy this journey. It's not a pain. And the third one that I would say is that get feedback, because it's always great to, especially like family and friends, they know you so well that they can really help you in terms of your journey, how they look at it, and what is their perspective knowing you. So yeah, that's about that's about it. That you should just do these 3 things. Yeah.
Perfect. Moving on to Shivani.
Few of the strategies that I did follow were, of course, it is mentioned by Srishti and Akriti earlier, but yes, do not beat around the bush. Be very specific on what you want to convey through your SOP. And of course, it's not a one-night job or it's not a one-week job. It'll take good amount of time, and that investment, consider it a part of investment in your life, which you will get returns later on. And one more thing that I would like to add to all of this is, when you are mentioning a particular unique quality of yours in your SOP, this is one of the strategies that I followed. Research is my strong point. So it's not just you mention research and you leave it. You have to prove your point to them. So you do mention that I did have these many research labs. I did take up a research project. I did take up internship in any research lab. So you have to go about it. It's not like you just mention quality and leave it, but elaborate on that quality. Like how did you realize that that was the quality in you? So that is how I had gone about it.
Right. So the same question to you, Akash, and even we have Adnan asking the same question, particularly about Canada. So we can combine.
Okay.
He's asking about strategies to make a perfect SOP for Canada, particularly.
Okay, so I feel, as said, in Canada specifically, most of the universities gets around more than thousands or 2000s of SOPs. So people really struggle reading, continue reading the SOP. So I would say, like, the best strategy would be to have a very great start of each paragraph so that it helps them to continue reading. For example, instead of just being plain spoken and saying that I held this leadership position in so and so event, you could start off by saying, like, being a social enthusiast, I never missed a chance of you know attending this event. So I feel like having that great start to each and every paragraph, giving a list of in the beginning of the paragraph or in the first line, would definitely help the reader to continue reading. So I think that would be one of my best strategies, what I have followed and what I have seen. So I think it would be great to do that.
Okay. Same question to you, Aditya.
Absolutely spot on, guys. I mean, just on point. And this is, this conversation is really exciting me now after the webinar to go back and write a couple of lines about myself and discover myself as I'll be looking forward to apply to my masters in the upcoming years. So thanks for the wonderful tips, guys. Again, I mean, I would like to start by saying that preparation trumps everything. So with your energy, when you put a preparation or when when you dedicate some effort into something, it will only speak wonders. So I mean, just exactly how you prepare for your exams, but exams in school or even university. If you know that, I mean, somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that if you're starting to prepare for it one night before the exam, you know that the marks that you would be expecting a much lower grade, and still you are happy with it, because you know that you haven't really prepared much. And again, I mean, if you have started your preparation from well in advance, and if you have dedicated enough time and effort, so you see a phenomenal output again. So I think, I mean, three main strategies. One strategy is definitely authenticity and originality. So I mean, statement of purpose is the only way to create a first-hand impression on the admissions officers by telling your own story, and making them grip to it. So I mean, if you're watching a Netflix show, so you I mean you really look forward to something very exciting to be left at a cliffhanger after the completion of one episode, so that you can go to the next episode with some sort of excitement. So consider your statement of purpose as a story about yourself, how you have to make it gripping for them, how you have to make it enthralling and thrilling for them, how you have to make it exciting for them, for them to keep reading those 1,500 words throughout. I mean, I am not a very big fan of reading, so I tend to sleep after reading a couple of pages. So I mean, one needs to be very compelling, very precise, and very simple in terms of the story, in terms of conveying the story. And like Akash mentioned, sometimes having a great start actually grips the audience. So yeah, I mean, I think this is the main point and advice from myself in terms of strategy.
Perfect. So, so guys, I know you have a lot of questions, but we have a lot of questions even in the presentation. So I think we'll take that up and we'll have an exclusive Q&A towards the end. So don't worry. Okay. So does SOP vary country-wise? If so, name the course and name your particular course and explain if you were required to write something particular in your SOP. So starting with Srishti again.
Sure. The format I would say would be specific, would certainly be mentioned by the university depending on their requirements. So the course that and I think it usually varies university to university. So it depends on how the university again, if there is any doubt, any confusion, I'm sure that you can always reach out to the university faculty and ask them before putting in the effort. You can always clarify in terms of what is the expected format for SOP. I'm sure. I mean, they're usually very prompt with their responses. Um,
Right.
so if there's any confusion, I would suggest do clarify that before you start with your SOP writing. And in terms of particularly my course, so I applied for masters in economics at University of Warwick, and in terms of specific things that I had to cover, like I mentioned, one was my achievements during my undergraduate course, how my grades, what was my merit, how where was I placed in class in terms of grades, top 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%.
Mm-hmm.
What was my motivation behind applying for this program? What were my key interest areas? And like I mentioned, so if since my interest was to pursue research, I had highlighted my what were my key interest areas in research, and I had also highlighted some interest areas that the professors were pursuing. So, if one of the professors was pursuing, for example, research in behavioral economics, which was my area of research, which was my area of interest. So I had highlighted that I would be interested in probably getting to understand these areas of research better during my course, and then also highlighting your strengths, how your strengths make you a good fit for the course that you're applying to.
Right.
So, if you're talking about research, you could mention things like I am, I'm good with I'm good with scraping through large chunks of information. I have strong interest in the subject, which motivates me to dig deeper into concepts and pull out insights from my research. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so things like that. So
Okay.
in but I've already covered all the aspects of
Mm-hmm.
SOP that I had personally written in my SOP as well. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Akriti, for particularly MBA, is there a different kind of SOP that is supposed to be written, or is it similar to the general SOP that we use for MS?
Yeah, so with regard to this, I'm going to just give you a brief, and this is how because it's also mentioned the country. This is how it would be for like London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Australia. So the way that it works is that for an MBA, you would essentially focus a lot on your work experience and how have you contributed to your job. So, for example, I was in a sales and marketing role. So, what are some of the kind of revenue initiatives that I have taken, and how have I contributed to the company, and what I want to do next in terms of my career? So, a lot of the achievements that would come in place there would be from your career. And on an average, in an MBA, people have 5 years of work experience and a minimum of 2 years or 3 years of work experience. So, but most people, even like now when I'm in the class, are like 5 years of experience, except for me, I'm like 2 years, 3 years of experience. But that's where the statement of purpose is great, because you can explain to them, even if you have lesser experience, why your experience matches to somebody who maybe has way more experience. So it's all about what you learned on the job, how you contributed, and things like that. Whereas when it comes to a master in management, you may not have that much work experience to talk about, but what you can talk about is about research. You can talk about projects that you've taken up, things that you've seen around, and what you've maybe done something on your own. Maybe you've created your own website, maybe you're running like a little blog of your own, and maybe a little business on Instagram of your own. So little things like this, they actually make a difference.
Right. So the same question for you, Shivani.
Yeah. So, like, if does SOP varies course-wise in your country? Yes. Preferably more than course-wise, I would like to say each and every course would have two options. Most of the universities in the United States has this option of thesis and non-thesis for the masters, which is not to be very well word of in India. In India, it's basically every university opts for thesis. But here in United States, you get two options: thesis, non-thesis. So your SOP will depend on thesis and non-thesis. If you opt for non-thesis, how would anyone go about it? Is you talk about academics, you talk about the industry experience if you have any, and more about how things would work, and not the non-laboratory area. Whereas if it is according to thesis, it's going to be more of a research oriented SOP. So my course is in pharmaceutical sciences, and what I was supposed and what did I mention in my SOP was how did I end up taking pharmacy, and then from pharmacy how did I decide I want to do research. Okay, once you've decided you want to do research, but how do you pick up a topic, or how do you pick up a particular area in pharmacy that you would, because that is how you would learn throughout your whole bachelor's. You will sometimes be good at few subjects, sometimes that subject will interest you, so yes, that is the subject you would like to do your master's in. And accordingly, in my third year, it was you can really plan out and strategize. This is the area research work you would like to implement. So that is how it is.
Perfect. So the same question, moving on to you, Akash.
Yeah. So does SOP vary for each course in every country? I think yes, it definitely varies. But to give an overall view, I feel like 70 to 75% of the content of your SOP remains the same. Only a few specifics which you need to change is like, whether is there any prof or any specific project you want to work or get involved in the university. So all those kind of contents you have to change. And we talking about the project, someone asked whether we also need to add projects. Definitely, you would have done, a lot of projects in your undergrad, but tailor your project. Just select a few important projects, maybe one or two, which might tailor to the course you're applying to, and include just that project. So I think that's where you kind of make the rest of the 20 to 25% of changes in SOP. And, the way to go about this is, as I said, go with the generalized one. Start off with a generalized one, go for specific. Second step would be going for a specific one, tailoring it to the university and course, then review and get feedback. Yeah.
The same question for you, Aditya.
My friends have said it all, so not much for me. Not much for me. Just one source of advice. So one thing which really stood out for me in this conversation was the projects you choose and the projects you write about. So if you are, so in my particular scenario, one thing, so since I applied to various universities in the UK and even across the globe, one simple reason which remained static was my hunger and eagerness to get through one of the top universities in a specific country to study the course of my choice, which was computer systems engineering, the course I'm passionate about, to learn right from childhood. The good thing about a statement of purpose is that there's no well-defined template expected from the universities. They're simply looking for unique and thoughtful ways of presenting your story. So any sort of project which you have done and which you have done out of choice but not out of requirement in order to boost up your CV, that is what matters. And that is what basically reflects your excellence and your passion towards that specific course you're applying to. So yeah, that's
Right.
pretty much.
Okay. So I'll take one question on YouTube that we have from Yashwant Kumar. He's asking about change if we have or if we want to change our major in our masters. So suppose I've completed my bachelor's in electrical engineering, and suppose I want to shift to another major in my masters, right? So how do I justify that in my SOP? So it's particularly for Canada. So maybe Akash, you can take that up.
Yeah. So when you, if I got the question right, because I wasn't able to hear, it's like when you change your, when you're applying for some other course apart from your background, how do you justify it in your resume? Oh yeah, I actually kind of did that because I had my background in typical mechanical engineering, but when I applied for industrial engineering courses. So I had an idea like this might be a problem. So I quickly did a couple of certifications, like Six Sigma certifications, so that I could portray that this was the initiative which I took just to show that I'm more committed towards my goal, and that is something which will make me stand out. Just portray that these are the initiatives which I took. So I think what you could do is just go and do a research on what maybe some certifications, or how could you align your current projects in this perspective, highlight those factors and highlight why the specific university, what perspective of growth you see during that specific program in the university. I would say like it depends on you what extra initiatives you took, because whenever you try to change your field, it totally depends. You could only justify by taking some extra initiative from some extra time, and pertaining it to that specific course which you're applying to. So I would definitely encourage you to go and do some certifications or some extra work, or get involved in those specific projects and highlight it in those SOP.
The next question would be, it said that you write stories and not statements. How much statement is the statement valid? I think we have discussed a lot that we should be trying to write our stories, our lifeline, and how we have reached up to that point. But if you can share some actionable ways in which how the students can actually write it.
Yeah.
So maybe,
can I add on to that?
Yeah. Sorry?
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it said that the question is how much of this statement is valid. I would say 100%. The world is moving towards why and how rather than what. Everyone literally I'm meeting these days, I mean, as part of my placement, and also everyone I'm meeting from different parts of the world are more interested and curious behind the reasons of your decisions rather than what the decision was. People tend to relate more to stories rather than plain statements. So, I mean, while I was writing my statement of purpose, I wrote about 3 to 4 strong and compelling reasons for my university and course choice, and which included small excerpts from my life experience to create an impact on those points and to throw proper highlights about the reason why I'm applying to that university. So it's always great if it's woven in a nice story format in order to narrate, and in that way you are and in some way or the other you are able to register your name, or if not your name, your story in the person's mind who's reading your statement of purpose.
Right. So
I would just like
can
to add one thing. Arnav has mentioned, it is said that we should write statements too. Okay, Arnav, to add on to this, it's like, okay, you will mention a statement, but to justify that statement, you will need a background story to it. Now, suppose, for example, tomorrow you want to write about anything. For example, you want to say research, but you will not just say research. You have to build up a story around it. Like, why do you want to do research? So, you've done research earlier, or you did take up research. So, this is the story that you would build across that particular statement. So just to you have to prove that statement, so you would build a story across it. So that is what was meant by it.
Perfect. Anybody else would like to add something?
I guess we've covered pretty much.
Covered most of it as well, but
Okay.
I would just say that
Yeah.
just think about yourself reading a couple of books that you actually like, and think about yourself reading a couple of articles or like some textbook which somebody gave you, or maybe a school textbook or something like that, and tell me which one would keep you awake at night to actually study till 5 o'clock and then write your SOP.
That's on point. Absolutely on point.
Perfect. So next question we have on screen, how different is essay writing for scholarships from SOP? So let us differentiate the scholarship SOP from the general SOP that we write. So anybody can take that up.
Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So applying for scholarship, I think the major difference is basically a scholarship essay is basically a cry out of help essay. It's the very first step in the world of sales, where you have to sales and market yourself to the university in about 300 to 350 words, mentioning about your familial and financial background, in addition to your professional and academic experiences. You would want the university to invest in you, to invest money in you. And why would the university do that? How are you standing out than all the other thousands of students who have got the exact same GPA as a few? What makes you that one person who is who's really excited, who's really exciting? So yeah, that is basically my thought process about a scholarship essay. But again, one thing that's common for both of them is the element of time. Both essays need enough time for you to write. You need some time off after the first draft, so you can come back to it with the first perspective to evaluate its effectiveness. So yeah, that's pretty much my thought process based on the scholarship essay.
Perfect. Anybody would like to add? Yeah.
So one thing that I would say with the scholarship essay is that you're trying to tell them why they should invest in you, because you're trying to make a change in the world. And if you see a lot of these scholarship essays, you can take there's in Australia there's a very I forget, yeah, UNSW. They have a scholarship essay which is the leader of change essay, and you can use that to get scholarships for a lot of the master's programs. And I know somebody who did a very interesting why she's the future of change, how she wants to use her scholarship and her degree to help transgenders across the world and employment. This is just an example, and this is really how we're investing in you, how you're going to make a change in the world. And when you think from that perspective, I think that would help you differentiate in terms of a scholarship essay. It's more generic in terms of the change in the world. There is for people who are interested in studying in the UK, there's an open Chevening scholarship which happens every year. You can go as a fellow, or you can
Yeah.
go as student, and it's a great opportunity, especially like when you're in the social sector and you've done something. You get your whole tuition paid off. I think they even sponsor your flights and everything. It's super competitive, but if you've done something, I highly recommend that you should apply.
Perfect. So anybody else would like to add to that?
I think it's pretty much everything is covered in this topic. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let us move forward. So before I actually take up the next question for everybody again, I understand you have a lot of questions, not just around SOP, but might be around scholarships or even the simple admission process. So you have a link on the top. I'm also again sending it on the group as well. So we can arrange a one-to-one mentor session for you with the respective mentors. So just fill that out meanwhile. Okay, so next question is, how much a well-written SOP and resume makes a difference in your application for admissions? So we've already discussed a lot about SOP, but I think we can turn this more around the resume. How important is the resume in your applications? So starting with Srishti again.
Yeah, I particularly did not have to submit a resume for my application, Pragya. So I guess probably someone else would be better suited for this question.
Sure. Moving on to Akriti.
So I would say that the resume is a very important part, especially in the MBA, because the resume highlights all your work experience. I would say that it's basically tells your story in a more succinct format. But one important thing that you want to highlight in terms of your resume is like how are you able to be very specific. So you're not writing your job description on your resume, you're writing your achievements on your resume. For example, if you're going for a management program and you have a background in sales, you want to say what kind of revenue targets you've achieved. If you've done some kind of research, where is that research published, and what impact has it had. So it's small bullet points but more numeric focused or impact focused, whereas in the SOP you're explaining your story as to how you achieved it and things like that. And I would suggest like one page resume only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So moving on to Shivani.
Yeah, that is just the one line that I wanted to add was, a resume is all about you make it very particular. Like academics, if you're going to say bachelor's, just mention the courses relevant to the university you're applying or something. And then, you go on to writing your internship experiences. Again, of course, you do mention extracurricular activities at the end, and also make a page limit of just one page. That is what the United States accepts, and across the globe as well. So just one page maximum.
Perfect. The same question for you, Akash. Akash, are we audible?
I think there's a error probably.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Aditya, you can take that up.
Yes, I am facing some network issues, but I'll try to answer. From perspective, I feel like a resume is just telling what you have done, whereas SOP is
I think there's some network issue. So maybe Aditya, you can continue till then.
Yes, I mean, like Srishti said, I mean, similarly, even I was not really asked to submit a resume as part of my admission application process. But since I've recently been applying to about 80 to 90 companies in the UK, in order to get a job, and basically begging in front of them to give me a job at least for 1 year. So one point which I would like to add on is that a resume needs to be very precise, very crisp, on point, and compelling, because I mean that is basically a proper evidence of what you have done, and I mean a resume is basically dynamic, so it keeps updating, it keeps changing as in when you keep progressing in your stages in life. So yeah, I mean, the best practice is to keep updating. And one more tip I would like to give here is I mean, I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar with LinkedIn as a platform, but LinkedIn is a fantastic platform in order to start your resume journey, if you're looking towards that.
Okay, sure. So Akash, if you're in a good network, you can add on. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next question. Meanwhile, I think the network isn't that great for him. Okay, so 3 mistakes that the student should avoid in their SOP. So starting with Srishti again.
Yeah. I guess one would be, again, like I mentioned, being very generic. don't try and if you're referring to some sample SOPs, it's good to take ideas, but try and be as original, as unique, and as specific as possible. That's one thing. Second would be with respect to grammar, which again we already covered, because they are very specific about grammatical errors. So if you're getting it cross-checked, be sure that grammatically it's correct. The essay, the write-up, and third would be, I guess, be don't of course, I mean, this is very basic, but don't like beat around the bush, and don't exaggerate. Be as authentic as possible, because it does come through eventually. So I mean, yeah, just be as truthful, as authentic as possible. Don't try to reflect a different persona from what you actually are. Be very genuine with respect to whatever statements you're making. Yeah, I guess that's what I
Okay.
Yeah.
The same question for you, Akriti.
Yeah, I think Shani said it really well, and I would totally agree with that. And I'm just gonna, like, if I just had to say those three words, it's gonna be authentic, be genuine and authentic. And the second thing would be proofread, and the third thing would be that probably you should tell a story. So authenticity, proofreading, and telling a story, just so to easily remember, these are the three mistakes that you should avoid. On the proofreading part, there's actually a very good software called Grammarly. I'll put the name in the chat. You can check that out. It helps.
Okay. Moving on to Shivani, the same question for you.
Yes, more to all the mistakes like rightly mentioned. I would like to add two more to it. Do not exceed the word limit, because universities are very particular. Like I have seen, you write an excellent SOP, but you exceed the page limit, or go to 3 pages, your application is rejected then and there. So do not exceed the word limit. And this is one. The other thing is, the thing that I faced, like I was told by my counselor to not use short forms, so I did not use any short forms while drafting my first, formatting the first draft. But I did say it's, and that is also not acceptable. So in the United States, it's like if you want to say it's, you have to say it is. So like just make sure, like do not use, even these short forms are not acceptable in your SOP.
Sure. So Akash, are you still there? Okay, so moving on.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, perfect. So yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm facing some internet issues over here.
No problem. Okay, so 3 mistakes that the student should avoid in the SOP is the question that we're discussing.
Okay. I feel sometimes what people tend to do is they try to overemphasize on their SOP. They sound like overconfident, but I would say like that is a very big mistake, because when the recruitment committee tries to scrutinize, they don't want to see overconfident people, but try to portray a very positive and affirmative image. For example, don't say that I'm the best, all these things and all. Try to be like, I'm confident that I'll be able to bring. That's something which I have personally seen, at least at my university where I study, they do check that. And always remember that your resume is just telling, have some jaw-dropping moments in your resume, whereas in SOP, don't repeat what you have said in your resume. Just try to show why you're interested, or why whatever reflected in your resume, why is that important to you, or why have you done that. Yeah, make sure that you don't repeat stuff. It's kind of mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the same question to you, Aditya.
Yeah, I mean, simplicity originality, proofreading. That's it from my side. Because a lot has been already said on these three specific topics, and
Right.
and I mean, yeah, like it's your own story. So make sure that it's unique towards yourself rather than
Right.
taking a start from somewhere. And and yeah, I mean, so a lot of students tend to think that compiling 10 to 15 statement of purposes from different website sources and submitting it as their own statement of purpose. And I mean, the admissions team will not be able to recognize, but I mean, they're not they're smart enough to get that, and they'll straight away catch you, and you'll be rejected.
Right.
So avoid doing that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much yeah.
Okay. So before we actually move forward to the exclusive Q&A section, so guys, quickly start typing your questions out. We'll spend the last 5 to 7 minutes in taking your questions back to back. So you can just put your questions in the chat section right now. Also, for everyone, we have a free Mentor Connect, which is like a one-to-one session between you and the respective mentor from your target university. You can fill the form out that is there on the top, and we'll get you connected. So, so guys, you've really shared a lot of insight. So I have something impromptu here for you. So I have a rapid fire for you guys to make it a little bit fun for you. So I think we'll start in the same manner. So you know the drill. I'll be asking questions. There are about 6 to 7 questions, and you need to answer them as fast as possible. So the first one is you, Shruti. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shoot. Okay. So the first thing you purchased when you reached that country.
Food.
Okay. How many times did you get lost in your university?
Oh,
Many times.
Many times. Lost
Okay.
count.
So the first thing you ate after you crossed your immigration and you landed there.
Chole bhature.
Dim sums.
I had actually carried some food from home, so yeah, I had that.
Okay. The first place you visited when you landed there.
My
London.
accommodation.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the campus.
Okay. How many meals have you skipped because you had to cook for yourself?
Many.
Lost the count.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can change the question. How many meals do you skip in a week because you have to cook for yourself?
I think in a day would be good because
Yeah.
yeah, because like you see, you get so busy and so tired by dinner. You're just like, I'm just gonna have like milk and sleep. Yeah.
Okay. The next question would be, how many Indians are there in your class?
30 to
I
40% of the population.
12 or 10 or 12.
I am fortunate to have about 6 to 7 Indian students in my specific course. So yeah, I'm happy.
Okay.
yeah. I think my class was about 30%.
We have a lot here in Canada, so welcome.
Okay. The next question is, have you ever cried feeling homesick?
Every
Yes.
day,
Never.
No.
I was like so busy, I guess. There was
I mean,
never
yeah,
time.
like it used to. I mean, it has happened a couple of times during Diwali and those festivals. But then again, I mean, when you're in university with your friends, so the charm of celebrating a lot of Indian festivals with them
Yes.
is something altogether very different. So yeah, it's all about experiences, where according to me.
Okay. The next question is some habit that you've developed after reaching there.
Cooking.
Cooking. Yeah.
Cooking.
Yeah. cooking.
I think it had to be.
Also,
Okay.
walking.
Yeah.
I guess in India we're not used to walking that much because
That's right.
obviously we
Yeah.
prefer taking the car everywhere and we get lazy. But I think that's a good habit that Europeans have. So definitely
That's
pick that from them.
absolutely. Absolutely
So
on
that's
point. I mean, you actually realize how privileged you are from the moment you
Yeah.
land back in
Yes.
from the moment
Yes.
you land back
exactly.
to your home country. There's your dad here. There's your dad at the airport picking you up in a car. You're traveling everywhere in a car. However, when you come back to when you go back when I came back to the UK, so I had public transports available. Else my own feet. So yeah,
Yeah,
you actually tend to find importance in a lot of things which you used to take for granted back home.
true. Yeah.
Okay. My next question would be: have you ever given your assignments to anybody else to do it for you?
No.
No,
Not in
And
UK.
No. No.
In India, yeah.
That's awesome.
it's, it's too risky.
yeah, too.
Sorry?
Yeah.
It's too
It's
risky.
Yeah.
it's too risky at a level in the university.
Yeah.
Okay. The favorite thing about the city that you're currently in?
Mm,
Hiking.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hong Kong.
I mean, it's really
Oh,
hard for me to say one thing because London is just London. I mean, it's full of buzz, full of action all the time, and full of energy. So yeah, I mean, it's all vibrant throughout the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
Akash.
I was in. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I was in Coventry, so that was essentially like a very small. It was like a very small city and more like the countryside. So coming from Delhi, from a big city, it was like a good change to have be in a very quiet place. Had its own charm. So yeah, it was quite very like country like. So that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel in terms of Toronto, it's like pretty diverse. So once you just go walk across the street, you will see like Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian, all food markets, all different stuff. So I feel that's something which excites me, the diversity.
Okay. Perfect. So this is actually not a question of the rapid fire, but I'm something. It's something that I'm keen to know. Do you feel weird by when you have to address your professors by only the first name? Because in India we're not in that habit.
yes. Initially,
Yeah, that's
yes.
true.
Initially, that is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
now it's more
initially
common.
that
Like
used
you
to be
get
the
used to
point.
it. Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, you tend to realize. I mean, we had a very interesting math professor who said that if you treat me as your friend, then you're going to be much more open to me in terms of questions. So so he gave that reason why the professors here
Right.
like to be called by their first name.
Right. Okay. So thank you for the fun rapid fire. I think it loosened up the environment a bit. Okay. So coming back to the last few minutes of this webinar, I'll just read out the questions and let us try to answer them as quickly as possible. Okay. So, okay, how do I justify regarding changing the major from ETX to robotics in an SOP? And this is addressed to Aditya. It's a question from Virendra.
Uh, so I'm not very sure what ETX is exactly. But again, for that matter, if you're looking to change a major from ETX to robotics, so I would say your passion and your drive towards the change is all what that matters. The reason why
Right.
you are changing and what has compelled you to do that is what matters. Okay, electronics. So I would say electronics and robotics has a lot in common. So I mean, I don't think that the universities would really be concerned if you're changing from electronics to robotics. It's just that you need to show that drive and hunger towards the change.
Mhm.
That's it you'll get through.
Perfect. So we have a question, more of like a request from Chayan Panchal, who's telling when is AdmitKard creating a webinar on scholarship. We'll do that soon. We've in fact done a webinar on scholarship the previous month, but we'll come with a requested webinar this month again. Also, since you've given your email address, I think Shyam, you can do one thing. Just go on to the link on the top, fill out that form, and we directly get you connected with Akash over a one-to-one video session. I think that would be easier. Okay, so I think we have a question from Pranav, but I believe Akriti, you've taken that up in the chat section. But if you want to add a little bit more, you are free to do that. I'll just repeat the question for you, maybe. Would you say the China Hong Kong issues is going to change the education or employment system in any negative way, which would not drive you to join Hong Kong universities? So Akriti, you can take that up.
I think it's quite clear here,
Yeah.
but essentially that is more of, I would say, like a national sentiment. Again, things are really changing because there's a lot happening on that side of the world. Personally, and for a couple of us, I think COVID has been more of a disruptor as it has for all the countries, but not as much in terms of the this political issue hasn't been that much of a disruptor. I would say, obviously, it's a small impact, but it's not really that much of a disruptor for jobs, at least within our class and like our program. I got an internship when this was happening and when COVID happened. So yeah.
Perfect. So guys, if you have any other questions, so Anushri is asking how we can get an update about the latest webinar. So Anushri, just fill out that form. You'll be added to our list and you'll automatically start getting updates. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube and you'll get all the latest updates. So everybody who's even watching us on YouTube right now, just hit subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you're updated about everything. Right. Okay. So I think I don't find any more questions so far. I understand everybody. You might have a lot of questions. You might still wonder, and you want to get some help around how to write an SOP. So fill that form out again. Fill it out, and we'll get you connected with the relevant mentor ASAP. And you can have a personal chat with the mentor and get all your questions solved. So I think on this note, we will end this webinar. For all you guys, thank you so much. You've been an awesome panel. I've seen the number of questions you've answered in the chat section for the students. So that's really, really, great. And thank you so much for sparing your time out. It must be really early in some countries. So thank you for that. And yes, the students will be reaching out to you via this form and we'll get you connected one-to-one with them. For all the students, you can still reach us on info@admitkard.com if you have any more questions. Fill the form on the chat section. Even after the webinar is ended, you will still be able to see the link. You can fill that out and I'll get you connected. So thank you guys, Aditya, Akash, Srishti, Shivani, and Akriti. It was really great to have you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Stay safe and stay updated.